Yo, what's going on? This is Mike, and I am the Sports Dope. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at @ThatSportsDope. Not to be confused with the Sports Dope. That's some dude who fucking got that name several years ago and didn't do shit with it. But that means I can't have it. So I'm that Sports Dope on Instagram and Twitter. Depending on where you are consuming this media, if you're interested in an alternate source, you can go to mindsofmike.com/thesportsdope. There you'll be able to find different social media icons and all sorts of other shit. Not actually too much other shit. There's really not much other shit there. It's just all these posts, and I basically just have a shell of a website up just so I can have an RSS feed and get a podcast. But anyway, mindsofmike.com, there are social media links on there for like YouTube or iTunes if you want to follow my stupid Reddit comments or whatever. That's up to you too. But you'll be able to find it there. mindsofmike.com/thesportsdope. And speaking of websites to go to, if you are in any need of design stuff, you can go to AndreaFowlerDesign.com. That's Andrea Fowler, Fowler, design.com. You can find her on Instagram at that same handle, Andrea Fowler Design. And she is a good friend of mine who made all the sick fucking artwork on my Twitter and Instagram right now. She also made some other stuff that I'm going to be incorporating into the website. But I just need to have the time. And it's so difficult when I'm working all day. I come back here and I dive into these numbers for the people. No, it's for myself, me talking. I just do this because I want to. I'm a fucking weirdo, and I just want to. I don't care that there's 4 people out there listening, and they only listen for a minute or two. I want to yell into a microphone for some reason. It makes me feel fucking important. So just let me have that. But what you're here for today is the Week 12 daily fantasy shit. And what we're going to start off with, as we typically do, is a recap of last week's picks. And then we'll dive into what we're going to roll with for this week. One thing I wanted to address also was typically if you have joined in here on the YouTube, you're used to seeing me look like a complete fucking bum. But I just came in from work. It was kind of a late night, and I just didn't feel like taking my fucking dress shirt off yet. So I'm sitting here in a beanie and a dress shirt. As opposed to normally a fucking v-neck with my disgusting chest hair sticking out. Or, even worse, sometimes a robe with a giant hood up, looking like a fucking failed Luke Skywalker. Okay, enough about shitting on me, as easy as that is. Let's dive into some of the Week 11 picks that we made. One of them was decent, one of them not so much. One of them decent, one of them not so much. We'll dive into the non-millionaire maker one. So this is the one that started on Sunday and it went through Monday. So yeah. Oh, actually, no, I'm lying. That's the wrong one we're starting with. So I'll start with the millionaire maker. Millionaire maker is regular Sunday, 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock. That is it. Those are your picks. That's it. What we decided to go with for our stack this week. Oof, ugly. And this was just my complete and utter misread of the game itself. I thought Atlanta the week before was a complete fraud, one of those proverbial quote-unquote, they're playing their Super Bowl, and that's how they did it to the Saints. And I thought they were going to have a major drop-off game. And conversely, Carolina had a rough game, and they had been playing well, so I thought this was a bounce-back spot for them. And god damn it was I off. Holy fuck. Way off. Atlanta smoked them 29-3. I lost my best bet of the week on the Picks podcast. You should check that out for Week 12. It's already out. And we went with Kyle Allen and DJ Moore as a stack. Kyle Allen hadn't thrown many interceptions at all. He started off hot, like a couple of games with no picks at all as a rookie. He doubled his interception total in that game last week. 4 picks. He did have 300-plus yards, but no touchdowns. He had 1 rush for 7. Nothing crazy. The stack DJ Moore, he actually outgained him. When you have wide receivers outscoring your quarterback, that's bad news. Bad news bears. So Kyle Allen finished out with 12.7, DJ Moore 17.5, and that was an ugly stack. We were looking for 30 from each of them, and we didn't even hit 30 on one of them. Or we did. We hit 30.2 with a combined. Ugly. Next up, we had Dalvin Cook. This was an ugly game. This is a weird fucking game. Minnesota hadn't even scored at halftime. They came back from like a 20-point deficit to win 27-23. Dalvin Cook, when you're behind like that, you're probably not going to be running the ball a ton. He did have a couple of catches that helped him out. He did have a rushing TD that helped him out. But overall, not a solid day from the boy Dalvin there. Next up in the running backs, we went with Brian Hill, the dude on the Falcons. They didn't use him too much because they were too busy slinging the ball all over the goddamn place. And a ton of people picked him because he was so cheap and the bell cow, 38%. And he had a terrible day. 30 yards on the ground, 8 yards in the air, 1 catch, 4.8. That was about how expensive he was times 100, $4,800. We went with DeAndre Hopkins for a wide receiver. We thought that he was going to do better and the fucking Texans were going to do better, but my God, did they look like horse shit. Wow, were they bad. That was a tough one. That was a tough pill to swallow if you're the Texans, and they're about to kick off here on Thursday night. Getting ready to lose the division to the Colts. But we'll see how that goes. We already talked about DJ Moore. Mohamed Sanu, he had a couple decent games for the Patriots so far, but not this one. He had 2 catches for 4 fucking yards. He had 1 rush for 8, so he finished up with a 3.2 spot. Not going to help you. We went Greg Olsen in the tight end spot. Again, thinking this Carolina team was due for a bounce back spot. He only got 10 points or so. In the flex spot, we went Kenny Stills. We were thinking this to be a little more shootout and a little less fucking murder. And he did not, have a great game. You would think if they were down that much, he would have a bunch. But, he's the home run hitter. So if you're only putting up 7 points, not too many home runs to be hit or were hit. We had a decent pick for the defense. We went the Raiders, paid up a little bit, scored 13 points, but, doesn't matter at that point, right? We had a bunch of guys in the fucking single digits. You're already out of it. You're already done. You're already toast. So fuck that lineup. Throw that shit in the trash. And let's move on to the other lineup we did. This lineup was for Sunday 1 o'clock through Monday night. We did a little better in this one, I gotta say. We did this in a very large, not super large, but like a 5,000 person tournament. Came in about 550, scoring 150 points and change. And the $5 investment turned into $6. Whoop, whoop. So we started this one off with our stack, as we do with Derek Carr. And we stacked him up with the tight end Darren Waller. Decent. Really not super great, though. We did it for the cheap. It was a cheap stack. Almost 21 points for Derek, and Darren was like 12.5. 78 yards, 5 catches. He had a passing touchdown, Derek, and a rushing touchdown, almost just short of 300 yards and a pick. Not anything super great. They didn't look too fucking sharp, to be completely honest. And if you listen to the Picks podcast, I am not big on them this week. They're in a rough spot. The first running back that we talked about was the same one as before. That was Brian Hill. He was terrible, even for the price. We stayed in that same game for the next running back, and that's Christian McCaffrey. Let me just say, Carolina scored 3 points in the game. Christian McCaffrey, still 33 fantasy points. Absolutely ridiculous. 120 receiving yards. Get the bonus for the 100 reception game. 11 catches and 70 yards on the ground. Unbelievable. We went for our first wide receiver, we actually went with Jamison Crowder. Dude, he's been killing it. He's been doing very well. He looks to be an integral part of that offense. He is the go-to guy there. And I had a feeling he's a quality receiver. Good route runner, open across the middle. He's kind of like a Julian Edelman type. He's going to get you those tough yards. And he had a touchdown, 76 yards, 5 catches, 18 points. Pretty solid. What wasn't solid was we stayed in that same game again. Doubled up on the games. Look at that. I didn't even realize it at the time. And we went with scary Terry McLaurin. Gotta figure Dwayne Haskins is gonna hit some of these passes, right? This dude had some clout coming out of college, but I guess fucking not, huh? But Terry McLaurin, they tried to go for him a couple times. I was listening to this game on the radio. I mentioned on the Picks podcast. I didn't really sit down and watch too much. I was driving a lot of the day. But yeah, he had a big catch call back for a penalty, so that was kind of tough. Beat his day up. He scored about 10 points on the day. Next up, big one. This was pretty solid. And we got him on the cheap, kind of, $4,000. This is what helped us out. Deebo Samuel, right? And we liked him because Emmanuel Sanders was hurt. Kittle was already out. Jimmy G's got to throw to somebody, and it's going to be Deebo. He had 135 yards, 8 catches, 24 points and change. We already talked about Darren Waller. In the flex spot, we threw in Austin Eckler on Monday night. Again, dude, this guy just keeps fucking scoring. It doesn't matter that Melvin Gordon came back. It doesn't matter. He's only $5,300 and he got you 25 points. He's making catches. He had 8 catches, 100 yards in the air, and then 24, 25 yards on the ground. He didn't even score a touchdown. He's still putting up in the 20s. This was another game I had a rough read on. And for the defense for this lineup, we went with the Dolphins. I thought that they were the cheap defense. I figured the Bills' offense might struggle. Not that Josh Allen would have his best game ever as a professional quarterback. And, the only thing that kept him in the positive was that they scored a defensive touchdown. So that lineup wound up 150 points and change. Came in like 575 or so out of almost, almost 5,000. Decent. That's all. But that's it. Let's dive into next week. This week coming up, Thursday game starts in, I don't even know what time it starts. Maybe 28 minutes, something like that. 30 minutes. I'll be watching football. While I'm posting all this shit and blah blah blah. So, first lineup of the week, we are going to start with the Sunday to Monday lineup, the one you can play with your buddies, because that's the the time frame that they usually pick. But I'm also entering this into a GPP, contest. Something small though, just a couple bucks on this one. So let's start off as we always do with our stack, and I couldn't believe how cheap this guy was, and I know that he's been struggling. He definitely has been struggling. I know that. Believe me, everybody fucking knows that. But I'm going to this Baltimore and Rams game, and I'm going with Jared Goff, and I am stacking him with Cooper Kupp. I think this could go one of two ways. I think they're going to have a hard time running the ball. They always do. They have. I know they tried it last week. It worked a little bit better for them, but I think it might be a little tough, and I think there's a chance that they're down early, and they're going to be throwing the ball. And as long as they can protect Jared Goff, he's going to be able to throw the ball. So I think they're going to be throwing early. I feel like it's every week I think Baltimore's going to falter. I've said so many times this year that I don't believe in them. But fuck, they keep doing it. And they are running hard. Lamar Jackson is just phenomenal. I think I got fooled. And I was buying into it. Not buying into it, but buying into this narrative at the end of last year that, hey, you remember the Chargers? They got smoked by him that first time, and then you saw him in the playoffs, and it was the first time anybody saw him twice, and they destroyed him. I'm starting to think now that was more Derwin James and less the Chargers as a whole, and because Lamar Jackson there, it just seems like there's no fucking stopping him. So, what happens when you're down? You're going to have to chuck, and Jared Goff, he chucks at the cup. So, Jared Goff, only $5,500, and then we got Cooper Kupp at $6,800. Let's put that in there. Monday night, let's go. The next guy, running back, we are going to the Seattle and Philly game, and I'm paying $5,000 even for Miles Sanders. Jordan Howard's banged up. And you know what? Even if Jordan Howard does play, Miles Sanders is going to catch balls. Because this game is Seattle's going to score. So Philly's going to have to do something if they want to make it competitive. They're going to have to either stop Seattle, which I don't think they can, or they're going to have to score and keep up. And Miles Sanders as a pass-catching back is excellent. Excellent. And for $5,500 or $5,000, throw him in my lineup. The guy underneath him in my lineup, that's the dude who's $5,500. He's David Montgomery. He's got the Giants coming to town. The Giants are trash. They got smoked. They got beat up by the Jets. Then they're coming off a bye. I don't care if they're coming off a bye. And you know what else? The Bears offense is not good. They don't even know who the fucking quarterback is. They're making up injuries to get the shit quarterback out of there, to get a almost just slightly better than shit quarterback in there. So they get no good quarterbacks. So, what are they going to do? They're going to run the ball a ton. And you'll be able to run it on the Giants. And David Montgomery at $5,500, I think he's going to get a ton of work. All right. Diving in, wide receivers. I got two guys here, a little bit older, but quality. And they're having big games recently. And they're still kind of, one of them's cheaper than the other. But first off, I got Randall Cobb. He's had a couple of big games. Amari Cooper's back and healthy, and I think that that's only going to help Cobb going into New England, because what does Belichick do? He takes away your favorite option. Takes it away. Gone. So give me Randall Cobb, $4,800 coming off of 2 big games. Why not have a third? Why not have a third? The Patriots are going to stop the run. They're going to stop Zeke. They're going to slow him down a little bit, so they're going to have to score points somehow. Give me Randall Cobb in the air again, $4,800. Next guy I started talking about, and I talked about him before when we did the recap. I'm going back to the well. Give me Jamison Crowder again. Got Oakland coming into town. Not a great pass defense. And Sam's been looking good. And when Sam's looking good, his receivers look good. His favorite receiver, Jamison Crowder. I actually like the Jets this week. Big up on the Jets. Let's fucking do this, right? Another guy I'm going with here, tight end spot. And I mentioned this team already because I already talked about Cooper Kupp. So we are going to skip that third receiver. Yeah, I already said that the Seattle team is going to score on Philly. They're going to score. It's just going to happen. Russell Wilson's phenomenal. They're coming off of a bye. They have a ton of weapons. Josh Gordon's even the fucking mix now. They got a Thunder and Lightning running back combination with Carson the Thunder and fucking Rashad Penny. If they ever decide to give him the ball, why they wasted like a first or second round pick on him is beyond me. He hasn't even played in 3 years. They don't even try. But yeah, Seattle's going to score. And Philly's going to have to try and score. And the only person who catches balls besides Miles Sanders, the guy who lines up to actually catch balls, that's Zach Ertz. And I'm throwing him in my tight end spot for $6,000. He had a little slow patch in the middle where people start thinking like Dallas Goedert was the shit. But nah, Zach Ertz came back with a vengeance, and he enjoys being Wentz's only target. So I like Zach Ertz and Miles Sanders. Give me some of that Philly offense, even though I think they get beat. I think that those are the only 2 guys who are going to even try and keep it close on the Philly side of the offense. Next up, we are going to Atlanta. Flex spot. Had a bit of money saved up, and I'm going with Mike Evans. Mike Evans was in the news this week talking shit. A lot of people were like, Mike Evans doesn't, understand that his team is bad. Like, by him saying they're inconsistent. They were like, no, it's a bad team. Mike Evans doesn't understand. No, he wasn't talking about the team. He was talking about Jameis. If Jameis was consistent, their team would be more consistent. Their team would sustain drives. You wouldn't see how bad their secondary is, and they can stop the run. They've shown that a lot. So the team is actually good. They do have a lot of pieces. They just need a quarterback who's not going to turn over 3 or 4 times a game. So when you talk shit like that, you know what happens? And it shouldn't happen this way, but you know what happens? You get rewarded. Mike Evans, $7,300. I think he catches 2 touchdowns this week. 2 touchdowns and 100 yards. He's going big this week, and I love it. It's a great matchup. I don't care that the Falcons have played good for 2 weeks. They're not going to be able to stop Mike Evans. And as long as Jameis gets it within his radius, his wingspan, I think he's going to come down with it. Next up in this lineup, going back to another game I talked about before, we're going defense, and that is the Jets defense. Jets. No, they're just cheap, and I expect a good game from them. And not even that I expect a good game from them because they haven't been playing well. I expect a bad game from Oakland. I can see they've been riding too high without any fucking talent. And I expect not like a terrible game. Like, they're still going to get some points. I got an Oakland guy in my next lineup. But just, I think the Jets have a chance to beat them up here. I like them. So that's it for the Sunday to Monday lineup. We got Jared Goff, Miles Sanders, David Montgomery, Randall Cobb, Jamison Crowder, Cooper Kupp, Zach Ertz, Mike Evans, and the Jets. Jets, Jets defense. All right, here we are. The moment you've all been waiting for. The Millionaire Maker. The Millionaire Maker is here. We're going to talk about it. And I feel like I have to remind you that in the Millionaire Maker, you're playing against like 200,000 other people. You have to be a little fucking weird. You got to be a little bit off. And I'm a little bit off this week. I like my stack. I don't know. I feel like I feel like I might look at this on Sunday where you can see the percentages of how many people in the contest took them, and I feel like I'm gonna be like, so many people are on this. But I don't know. I think I'm being outside the box. I hope I'm being outside the box here. Maybe I got to reevaluate the box. We'll see. But this is what I went with. I went with Jeff Driscoll. Jeff Driscoll and Kenny Galladay as my stack going to Washington. They don't have a running back. Like I know they have a running back, but he's not a running back that's going to run the ball well. Like he did decent last week, but like they have a couple guys that are doing different things. They got Scarborough, I think, and then who is J.D. McKissick's over there still, I think. Like just nobody that you have confidence in. And it's not that you have confidence in Jeff Driscoll. It's just that the guys you have confidence in, he's the conduit to get to them. So you got to kind of, fake confidence in him. So give me Jeff Driscoll and Kenny Galladay, $5,500 and $6,600 respectively. And they're going to Washington. Nobody has any respect for Washington. Sam Darnold just torched them. And I'm not saying Sam Darnold's bad, but that was like his get-right spot. And he got right against them. So, yeah, give me your fucking backup quarterback, Jeff Driscoll, for $5,500. And, his number one target, Kenny Galladay. And because we're going a little cheap there, we can get a little crazy with some of the running backs, and that's what we're doing here. We're going with Nick Chubb. Miami's coming to town. Odell's a little banged up. They probably they want to forget about football for a little bit, and the way, because of what's been going on the side, and I'll be honest, I'm surprised Myles Garrett's suspension wasn't rolled back a little bit. But anyway, they just want to keep the game moving and get the fuck out of there. How do you do that? You do that with your running back. You keep the chains moving, keep the clock moving. Nick Chubb, $8,100. I think he runs all over the Miami team. Just starts early, stays in the middle, and then maybe Kareem Hunt gets the third, and then he comes back to close out the game in the fourth. I like Nick Chubb a lot this week. Solid move, $8,100. Excuse me. Another running back I have this week that I'm a huge fan of, and I think he's going to do big things this week. That's Derrick Henry. The Jags didn't look good last week, and they were almost season on the line type of game last week. They even brought back Super Bowl winner Nick Foles to throw because they didn't trust Minshew with such a big game. And they lost. And they're not great at stopping the run already. And I feel like when you have that loss that almost ends your season, and you're going on the road, you're going on the road, like, I just feel like that's a recipe for a bad fucking game. For almost like a complete no-show. And if there's a big no-show, that means Derrick Henry's going to have a big game. That means he's going to start big and end big. Just like we just talked about with Nick Chubb. Big game. Big runs, big touchdowns, big games. Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, big backs. All right. We talked about Kenny Galladay. Last lineup, we talked about how bad the Giants' defense is. We also talked about how bad the Bears' quarterback is. But I'm still going to go with somebody here, mainly because I'm spending a lot of money elsewhere, and I need a cheap option. And I feel like Taylor Gabriel is a very good cheap option right here. I think that he's had... Last game, they were trying to get him involved. He had 14 targets last week. Now, granted, that's a complete outlier from the whole season. Absolutely. But last week he had 14 targets. A couple weeks ago he had 3 touchdowns. Like, I'm just saying, like, weird stuff could possibly happen. And if Taylor Gabriel even gets half of the targets that he did last week, he's absolutely got the potential to break one. And for $4,200, I will take that shit. Next up, I'm going with a cheap guy, but this dude could be a fucking monster. And I've already mentioned that Seattle's going to score. I don't want to pay up for Russell. I don't want to pay up for... I like my running backs the way they are. I don't want to pay up for Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf. So give me Josh Gordon. I know he's new to the team. $4,200. Made his debut 2 weeks ago. Caught the only 2 passes thrown to him. One of them for a big third down or fourth down in the fourth quarter. And they coming off a bye. You think he didn't study all week? He's trying to stay clean. Of course he's got his nose in the fucking playbook. He's out there in Seattle. It's like the heroin capital of the world. See fucking viral pictures all over the internet of like the behind of a Walmart in, Washington State. It's just filled with heroin needles. Josh Gordon, that's a bad spot for him. So you know what he did? Stayed indoors. Study the playbook. That's what you got to do when you're Josh Gordon if you want to, continue being somewhat of a football player. And I don't know why. I got a soft spot for the kid. I do. So give me Josh Gordon, $4,200. I think he studies up on the playbook. He's at like 90%. And at 90% for $4,200 in a game that I think is going to be relatively high scoring for at least the Seahawks, that is, I like him a lot. And I think he gets in the end zone. Next up, we are going to the Jets again, and I'm going with Ryan Griffin. He's only $4,200. The Jets don't have a tight end. He's been filling the role very nicely, with the exception of the Giants game. He's had at least 5 targets, and he scored in the last 4 games. Let's just talk about this. 4 games, he's averaged, let's say, 5 targets, and he's got 3 touchdowns in 4 games and about 215, 20 yards. For the tight end spot for $4,200, that's not bad. Oakland's coming to town. They're not good against the tight end. They're not very great at defense as it is. And again, like I mentioned before, I think Oakland's going to have a down week. I think it's going to be a down week for the Oakland squad. So I got Ryan Griffin, $4,200 in the tight end spot. We go to the flex. And like I said, I was saving some money, going big in the flex. Let me get Alvin Kamara at home. Look, Carolina got embarrassed. A lot of people think that teams are going to bounce back off of that. I don't know. They're going to New Orleans. New Orleans, last time they were there, they were getting the shit beat out of them by the Falcons. So you think that they don't want to, show their fans that, oh, hey, we're fucking good still. Don't worry about it. You guys didn't see firsthand how we trounced Tampa Bay, but, we want to show you guys too. And when New Orleans beats the shit out of a team, what happens? Alvin Kamara usually does very well. I mean, they beat the shit out of a team last week. He didn't even get in the end zone, and he had 20-plus points. 10 targets, 10 catches. You know why he's getting all those targets? Drew Brees, noodle arm syndrome. Can't throw it downfield, so what does he do? He throws it 10 yards to this fucking guy and lets him run. It's not hard. Just do that when you're an old noodle arm quarterback like he is. Get a bunch of young fucking position skill players and just give them the ball in short situations and then act like you're in charge. Last up, another thing we had to go cheap on, the defense, and that's because, like I said, we got so many horses in this stable right here. We got Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Alvin Kamara, Kenny Golladay. We got the man Jeff Driscoll. We had to go cheap. We had to go a little bit cheap. And hear me out here. You're going to think I'm an asshole. You're going to think I'm dumb. But, give me the Cincinnati Bengals defense. They are at home against the Steelers. Steelers down an offensive lineman because he's suspended for kicking somebody in the head. He should be down. They should be down a quarterback, but for some reason Mason Rudolph didn't get suspended. And I don't give a shit who says what about him saying a racial slur. He was the first person to pull a helmet. He should have been suspended also. I don't give a fuck. And then he charged him again after the fact. If Mason Rudolph doesn't charge him, he doesn't hit him with a helmet in the head. He doesn't try to murder him. So maybe just fucking suspend the guy who started it all, Mason Rudolph. Anyway, Bengals defense. Look, Bengals got to win a game sometime. The Steelers have no offense. Even with Mason Rudolph not suspended, he is not a good quarterback. Their defense is pretty good, but we just saw the Bengals put up somewhat an effort. You got to think they're going to put up even more of an effort at home, somewhat. I think it's going to be a terribly low-scoring game. And in a low-scoring game, anything can happen. And both sides are going to be low-scoring. So give me the Bengals, maybe a defensive, maybe a special teams touchdown. I can see either of those things happening for sure. Bengals, $2,100. All right, let's recap this one now. We went with Jeff Driscoll, Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, Kenny Golladay, Taylor Gabriel, Josh Gordon, Ryan Griffin. Ryan Griffin, that is the tight end on the Jets, in case you had no idea. Alvin Kamara, and the Bengals defense. All right, that's it. We got 2 lineups. One of them is going to cash something. I promise. Nah, I can't promise that. I have no fucking idea. But it's fun. It's a fun exercise. Anyway, thank you for checking it out. If you made it to the end, God bless you. God bless you. But I am Mike. I am the Sports Dope. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at thatsportsdope. You can go to mindsofmike.com/thesportsdope, and that is where you'll find a bunch of social media links. So whatever medium you found this on, if you want to maybe consume it in a different fashion, you'll find the ability to do so there. The website is shit. I apologize for that. It's going to be better soon, courtesy of some artwork at my friend AndreaFowlerDesign.com. Her name is Andrea Fowler, and you can find her work at AndreaFowlerDesign.com. Once again, I'm Mike. I'm the sports book. Not the sports book. I'm the sports dope. See, I'm a fucking moron. So, about to go watch this game, Thursday night game, and let's go Colts plus 3.5. That's all I got. Peace out. Good luck this weekend.